This is Optimal Finance Daily, episode 1514, The Top Relationship Money Mistake to Avoid in Your 20s by Jess Chua with MoneyMiniBlog.com. Welcome to another Sunday edition of Optimal Finance Daily. I'm your host and personal finance enthusiast, Diana Merriam. This is the show where I read to you from some of the best personal finance blogs on the planet, sometimes a little too enthusiastically. But I can't help it. Money is an incredible resource that we can use to craft the life of our dreams. So thanks for joining me today and every day. And before we get to it, have you subscribed to our other podcasts? We cover personal development and minimalism, health, relationships, entrepreneurship, and life advice on the other shows. Just search for Optimal Living Daily wherever you get your podcasts to find them. Today, I have a post from our own content specialist, Jess. She writes on our site, oldpodcast.com, and she wrote a guest post for MoneyMiniBlog that I'm featuring today. So with that, let's get right to it and start optimizing your life. The Top Relationship Money Mistake to Avoid in Your 20s by Jess Chua with MoneyMiniBlog.com. Quote, learn from the mistakes of others. You can't live long enough to make them all yourself. Eleanor Roosevelt. The 20s are a time for self-discovery. Mistakes will most certainly be made, whether it's related to your college major, career path, or lifestyle choices you might not seriously think through just yet. When it comes to relationships, it's easy to adopt a carefree approach if you're a trusting soul and out for some fun in your quest to find the right person. You feel like you have time to think about what you want and that the right person will be inspired to be a better person for the sake of your relationship. However, you're going to get stuck in a vortex of stress and grief if you choose to settle with a financially irresponsible partner. The cold, hard truth is that time waits for no one. Before you know it, 2 weeks of besotted attraction can easily turn into 2 years or more of resentment and misery due to incompatibility. And that's time and life you're never going to get back. There are plenty of money mistakes to avoid in your 20s, such as taking on too much debt, living on credit cards, or spending more time on social media than on money matters. Now let's explore why settling with a financially irresponsible partner is a top money mistake you want to avoid when it comes to your relationships. Number 1, love doesn't pay the bills. A 2018 survey from TD Bank found that 30% of married couples have an argument about money at least once per month, and that 44% of divorced couples had frequent arguments about money matters before they split. Someone who's responsible about money takes time to discuss money matters. They don't hide money from you or keep debt a secret. They're able to curb impulse buying and don't treat your bank account as their personal ATM. You might have the most amazing intellectual conversations with someone or physically connect with someone in a more intense way than you've ever experienced. These traits make no difference as to whether or not the person is financially responsible. And if you're listening to this, chances are you would appreciate a partner who you can have shared financial goals with. Life is full of ups and downs. Handling money responsibly includes saving some money on a regular basis so that you're able to use it when an unexpected need occurs sometime in the future. All the serenades in the world aren't going to help if you're a mortal who needs to get bills paid. Number 2, having a kid changes everything. If you have or plan to have kids, your partner's financial irresponsibility is going to impact your entire family. You might feel obligated to stay together for the sake of your kids, but if your partner has an immature approach towards finances, you're going to be in a constant state of stress as to whether there's enough to provide your kids with a safe and comfortable home environment to grow up in. And if you're the ones shouldering the financial burden, a financially responsible partner wouldn't spend your money frivolously, especially if the money is supposed to be going towards supporting the needs of your children. Take the time to really get to know someone before you build a life and family with them, so that both of you are ready to take on the responsibilities and commitment that parenting requires. Number 3, change only happens when people want to change. A classic mistake we make when falling in love is thinking that our partner will change for us if they truly love us. If that were true, breakups would never need to happen. Don't stay with someone who's irresponsible with money just because they tell you they'll change in the future. Watch your partner's behavior and actions. If they still do the things that stress you out, like waste money on non-essentials or make big purchases without telling you about it first, they're not interested in accommodating your needs in the relationship. Cut your losses and make space to meet someone who has the qualities you're looking for. You can't force someone to be something they're not. Number 4, you need to have shared goals in a relationship. To have a strong relationship, you and your partner must have similar priorities. You may want to save for a down payment, build an emergency fund, start a travel fund, or put aside a percentage of your income for investing. You will not have a happy relationship with someone who prioritizes weed and cigarettes over saving for the future. Resentment will build over time when there's no shared goals. There's no reason for you to suffer for months or years because you and your partner don't see eye to eye on the big things in life. Number 5, money is real. Someone I dated in my 20s was academically gifted, but had the notion that money was not important because it wasn't real. It didn't matter that we struggled on some very real things like figuring out where to live and how to get better jobs at the time. He was set in his belief that ideas and philosophy were the most important things in life. That relationship didn't last for a number of reasons. The lesson I learned was to stop viewing my relationships through rose-tinted lenses, especially when it came to finances and whether my partner and I could work towards common goals. Money impacts your daily life, your lifestyle, and your relationships, and financial responsibility is crucial when you want to share your life with someone. It's the basis for material security, which also translates to a certain level of emotional security. It brings a sense of stability to your relationship, and its absence could make you and your partner constantly stress over whether you can afford a roof over your heads by the end of the month. Settling with the wrong person often turns out to be a very bad mistake because of its potential to inflict repercussions on several areas of your life. If personal finance is a big part of how you live your life, I'd recommend including financial responsibility as one of your relationship deal breakers. No relationship is guaranteed to work out, but at least you'll avoid the stress of trying to build a life with someone who has zero intention of improving their bad money habits. You just listened to the post titled "The Top Relationship Money Mistake to Avoid in Your 20s" by Jess Chua with MoneyMiniBlog.com. Almost every day, I come across a post on a personal finance Facebook group with some form of this question: how do I get my partner on board with cleaning up our finances? And I feel for these people. That is a challenge that I've been fortunate enough to avoid. And it's really no surprise that financial stress is the number one cause of divorce. So this topic is certainly worth some thought. I think Jess gives some really good advice here that aligns with my view that who I decide to partner up with or marry is the single most important decision of my life. It's probably why I'm 34 and have never been married. The reality is that this one decision has ramifications for the rest of your life. And this one person will influence you more than any other person in your life. It's kind of a big deal. Being in love is amazing, and it's one of the greatest pleasures I've ever experienced. But many people make the major life decision of marriage based on infatuation or how much they enjoy being with someone. Maybe it's not romantic, but I think marriage is so much bigger than being with someone you love. Love is certainly a part of it, but you can love someone with all your heart without legally binding yourself to them. And given the 50% divorce rate, I think it's time that we admit that marriage does not guarantee commitment. What I've learned from married folks is that marriage over the long term can be largely unromantic. Much of the time, it's about navigating the practical decisions of everyday life. So I think this is important to remember when you're dreaming up a future with someone. I also think Jess makes a really good point that you can't expect to change anyone. When someone shows you who they are, just save yourself some time and heartache and believe them. And that's another edition of Optimal Finance Daily in the books. Thanks so much for your support and for listening every day, of course. Have a great rest of your weekend if you're listening in real time, and I'll be back tomorrow where your optimal life awaits.